How did he even get in here? Guess who hit 2,000 subscribers?
Well, we should celebrate that.
But we're broke.
We'll use God's gift to poor people. Little Caesars. Alrighty, pizza acquired, and we are finally going to tackle this motherboard. This is our 2,000 subscriber special. I cannot believe that we've already reached this milestone. I never really thought we would, to be honest. But to have this happen only a couple of days before my birthday, that is just really cool. Perfect timing. So what we have here is a pretty nice socket 478 M80X motherboard. It has 8X AGP. It supports 800 MHz front-side bus Prescott CPUs. Honestly, really good. DDR400, one of the fastest DDR speeds released. This is a good little motherboard. So we're going to see if it works. We have 5 bad capacitors on this board. Here, here, and these 3. But they haven't completely exploded yet. So maybe we'll get lucky and it'll fire up. If it does work, we will be replacing these 5 capacitors because I just happen to have just enough replacements to get those off of this board before they kill it. So let me grab a CPU and see what we can do with this board. Okay. I should have plenty of Pentium 4s. What's the first one we grab? A 2.4 gigahertz. Second one, another 2.4. Do I have at least a 2.8? Another 2.4 with a slower front-side bus. No, thank you. This is a Celeron. We'll avoid that. Celeron D, 2.5 gigahertz. This one isn't. Why do I have so many 2.4s from 2001? 2.5 gigahertz. Proper Pentium 4. I thought I had a bunch of 2.8s. 2.6. Okay, we're moving up. Surely I didn't accidentally sort these by speed. Ooh, 3.2. Here is a Prescott. Okay. This board says it supports it. And another 2.4. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and just go straight for the 3.2. Yeah. Socket that in. Make sure I don't have any bent pins, of course. No, that slid right in. Okay. So, with that done, let me put all these CPUs back. Actually, we'll leave the 2.6 out just in case we need it. But I'm going to put the rest of these away real quick. Okay. Got all that put away. I have this just in case we want to clean this motherboard, which I suspect we will. But let's go ahead and get a cooler put on. And I am lucky, because look at what I found. Look at that. I'm pretty sure this works. So we are going to go ahead and pop that in there. What a wild cooler. Not a huge fan of the Pentium 4 retention mechanism, but I guess it does technically work, so... Oop. Doesn't work very well. I always feel like I'm going to break it. I know you probably can't see what I'm doing very well, but gotta get this on somehow. Oh, there we go. Okay, it was caught against the plastic housing. Oh, this is such a pain in the butt. Maybe I should have just gone with a stock cooler. Okay. That's on. What? Okay. Why are there two? Okay. We'll just plug this one in and see what happens. This appears to be power. No. This one is power. That has to go here. I need a stick of RAM. I've got this Corsair XMS memory with the LEDs on top. Pretty sure this one still works. So let's slap that in real quick. I will be delightfully surprised if this system boots, or rather posts, with those bad capacitors, but it is a possibility. Get ourselves a VGA cord, plug that in there. I know we're not quite ready yet. We still need a power supply and a keyboard. Keyboard I have right here. All the cables are caught. And yes, I will adjust the camera before we try to fire this up. So, keyboard and power supply. Here we go. I have no idea what this is from, but it's 300 watts, so it will handle what we're about to throw at it. Let's get this plugged. Oh no, wait. Is this gonna work? Kind of. This is not going to be the power supply that we choose to actually build this system. It does not have the separatable 20 versus 24 pin, so it will not properly latch. But it should do just fine for testing. So let's get you adjusted to where you can actually see what's happening. Okay. Power supply plugged in. Need something to jump the front panel header with. Okay. Power button. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. I think. Then again, maybe not. Oh, wait. Okay, that's different. Will we get anything on the screen is the question. Looks like a solid no. Okay. It is probably just those bad capacitors, but let's do a little bit of troubleshooting first. Let's grab a graphics card. Of course, there is a very strong chance. Oh, I unplugged it, that's right. There is a very strong chance that it will not like that RAM. So that'll be the next thing we try, if this doesn't work, and it probably won't. Huh. Well, that's different. Turn back off. I think we're just going to have to replace those capacitors. I really wanted to see some life in this before I went ahead with the replacement, because although they are definitely bad, they haven't blown up yet. Maybe I should just replace that RAM real quick. Plug this back in onboard. And again, just because this RAM, I believe, is good, A, doesn't mean it is good, and B, doesn't mean that the motherboard is compatible with this. So I will be right back. Nope. I wonder if this is a proprietary power supply. Let's try another power supply. Okay, I've got this X-Power 585, which I think is like a 385 watt. Just 300, okay. Either way, it does have the separatable 24 versus 20 pin. Our P4 connector. And I guess, I'll get out from under there. Let's see what happens. Is it plugged in? Yes. It stayed on this time. No, it didn't. Okay, I think I am pretty convinced that this is just bad capacitors. So, again, I really would have liked to see some sort of life, but I guess we're just going to have to replace them and hope for the best. Yeah. Let's see what I can do. No, as a last-ditch effort, it occurs to me that maybe this is some sort of CPU fan oddity. It gets its power from one, but it reports the RPM through a different one. So I've plugged the RPM into the CPU fan header, and I've plugged the power source into the chassis fan header, and maybe, just maybe, that was the issue. Unlikely. No. Okay. Let's replace those capacitors. Okay. So I need to pay very careful attention as to the orientation of the capacitors. I can see that all of the stripes for the capacitors I care about face the I/O plate. So that helps me a lot. So let's see how hard it is to get these removed. Will I need flux? It's always difficult for me to get a good grip on things. I think I'm going to need some flux, or at least to tin this. Okay. This is entirely too big of a tip for this. Maybe if I start over here instead. Just one. Two. And out. There's one removed. Not too bad, but it is bulging. Oop. One. Two. One. Okay, so there's three removed. I'd like to soak up some of the old solder, but I've always had trouble with solder wicks. Everyone else seems to find them to be super easy to use, but I don't. Maybe it's just a little bit of a flux here. There we go. I have old flux. Should still work, more or less. Kind of wish I had better light, but I can't fix that. I don't have another light. Okay. I also know that you can't see very well. I apologize. There isn't a whole lot I can do about that and still be able to get this done. That actually worked okay. That didn't. Okay. That worked okay. Why didn't that one work? Try it again. Better. Not perfect. So the solder on this motherboard is certainly leaded solder. So I don't want to breathe this in too much. It's actually not working too bad. This is better than it's ever worked for me. So I'll take it. Okay. Let's see about getting some of these new capacitors in. Stripe towards the I/O plate. This is the one that I couldn't get most of the solder out of. So getting this through here is going to be a problem. Might have done it. Yes, okay. Now I've got to line the other one up. Come on. There we go. Okay. That one's in. So I bend the leads away, and that helps hold it in place. Here's my solder. This is thicker than what most people use, but I'm bad at this. So, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Just because I do it a lot does not mean I'm skilled. Now when I'm done, I drag the tip along the leg. And what that helps do is prevent great big clumps from forming at the base. Get our side cutters here. Hold the leg, because if you don't, it'll go flying. Okay. So there's that. Definitely not perfect, but I'd say that's acceptable. Yeah, not too shabby. I'm going to quietly do the rest of them here so I can focus. Smooth that out a little bit. There we go. And I'll see about speeding up the footage. Okay, so that is all of those replaced. The stripes are facing in the same direction. If we're lucky, this will post now. So let's give it a shot. Okay, just for the purposes of this test, I'm switching to a standard cooler. That one's just a little bit too weird for testing, I think. I could have cleaned this cooler better, I suppose, but it will suffice. Boy, I really hope this worked. This is, I don't really have any other plans if this doesn't work. Yeah, so this goes in here. These clip on poorly. I really hate these coolers. Get on there. It's not in. I hate these. Okay, it's on. That's good. Grab ourselves a power supply. I know I still need RAM, but that'll be fixed in just a moment. There it is. Okay. Random stick of RAM. Put it into channel A. Get in there. Okay. That's in. Get our keyboard over here and our monitor plugged in. Okay. In theory, we're good to go. Need to be careful of the soldering iron. It is still hot. Okay. Now where did... Oh, there. My power button. Hey. We fixed it. Okay. Hey, that's good. It's not lined up at all. F2 to run setup. Let's go ahead and get into setup. Cache size 1 meg. 1 gig of RAM detected. It says it's DDR333. I thought this was 400. Could be wrong. Hey! That's huge! Perfect! I guess it doesn't say what speed it is. So let's put another gig in there. Let's get 2 gigs of DDR. Okay, that's 2 gigs. Let's get our fancy, weird cooler in here. If I can get this off without breaking it. I probably should just stick with this cooler, but we've got the 3.2 gigahertz Prescott. So I really don't want to cook it. No, thank you. God, I hate this. I really hate this. And have I mentioned that I, in fact, dislike this? Get off there. Okay. That's good. Okay. Get some more thermal paste down on there. Just because, you know, you can never really have too much, especially with a Pentium 4. And these particular CPUs were well known for not being flat on the top. So let's get that in. Get our little clip C's going on here. I don't think they have to be facing different directions, but the stock cooler has the clips facing different directions, so we're going to do that here. Get in there. I hate this. This was not the worst, but one of the worst retention mechanisms that's ever been designed. Okay. Oh no. How'd that happen? Where's the... What? What? The connector came off. This is the RPM sense pin, I believe. How the... Oh, there it is. Okay. So that'll be far left. Crisis averted. Crisis averted. Okay. CPU fan in, I think. Does it work? That is the question. Okay. I think this just lets you manually. It does. I don't know why you would want it to be manual, but sure, I guess. CMOS checks on bad, that's okay. That just means we need to replace this battery here, which I have a ton of. I stocked up on them myself, and a viewer also sent a ton of them in. Speaking of which, if you want to send me junk to look at, my P.O. box is listed in the description below. If you like this kind of content, make sure to let me know. I do this for my own enjoyment. However, I do care what you think. So if you want to see specific things, don't hesitate to let me know and I'll see what I can do. I'd appreciate a like if you like this. It really helps. Okay, let's get the CMOS settings nice and configured. Hey, this board has SATA. That's not terribly... What? Huh. Okay, let's get this cooler out of here. It's cool, and I'm sure it's good, but I don't trust it. And I need to be able to trust it. There we go, that went in nice. Okay. Well, the problem might have just been the cooler that whole time. Did not expect that, but I'm not that surprised. F2 to run setup. Okay, let's change that date. March. I think today is the 14th. No, 15th. Yes, my birthday's on the 19th. Curse me, I don't know what time it is. Suppose it doesn't really matter. What does my wife's PC say? 9:09 p.m. Okay. Nine. 09. Okay. CPU. Frequency auto, we'll leave that. I mean, it looks good to me. Hyperthreading's enabled. Thermal throttling enabled. That's good for this Prescott CPU. Chipset. Let's see. What's flexibility option? Better tolerance for memory compatibility. Sure, we'll enable that. AGP voltage auto. I mean, it doesn't really matter because we have 2 gigs in here already. We don't care about more than that. Primary graphics adapter. We want AGP. We'll leave all that. Okay. Sure. This all looks good to me. Non-RAID. Floppy. USB. Yeah, the CPU is already at 52 degrees and we're doing absolutely nothing. I don't know if this cooler is going to handle a Prescott CPU. Save changes and exit. That should at least get us to the point where it says no boot device available. Are you kidding me? Does this system have more issues that I'm not aware of? So, that is not a great sign. Turning the power off and back on again fixes it. No, it doesn't. The rest of the capacitors look good. What could it be? South bridge is cool to the touch. Huh. I can replace capacitors, but diagnosing problems like this, not my strong suit. So, okay, you know what? Let's try something. Let's remove this battery. If I can even get my hand on it, Jesus. Okay, battery removed. Power supply turned off. Power drained from system. Power restored. CMOS has been reset. I hate to say this, but we might have a bad motherboard that I don't know how to fix. Oh, that's a shame. What do I do? This is a really nice motherboard. I don't want to give up on it, but this might be beyond my repair expertise. No power on. So there's these capacitors here. Those are the CPU VRM capacitors. Those are suspect, but for now, I think what I'm going to do is just try to get out of there. I really hate these coolers. They're the absolute worst. There's nothing in the world worse than a Pentium 4 stock cooler. Socket 478 stock cooler, rather. This sucks. I hate them. Anyone can argue with me that there are worse things in the world, but you're all wrong, so get wrecked. Oh. God, I hate this. We're going to take out this 3.2 gigahertz CPU, our Prescott from our Prescott Ready board, and we're going to put in this, oh no, it has pin damage. Let me see if I can fix that with my fingernail real quick. Okay. Pins have been bent back in place. There's a hair. I'm sure it's fine. You in place. Let's try this 2.6 gigahertz CPU. And we're just going to rest that on there. I'm not going to clip it in yet. So, power off. Power on, because it could have been a CPU issue. Sure, we'll clip it in, I suppose, then. It's on, but it's not displaying out. I really hope I didn't waste those 5 capacitors. It's not that they're expensive, but I think I need to replace the CPU VRM capacitors. I really don't want to. Do I even have any is the question. Oh! No, I'm stupid. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. I didn't plug in the P4 connector when I changed CPUs. Bet you it works now. I'm dumb. But it's going to tell me that my keyboard's not connected because I just disconnected that when I was about to look at the capacitors. Okay. Yes. Here's the big question. With the 3.2 installed, you know, it might be a power limitation of this motherboard. It might have a limit on how much CPU power it can deliver, and that 3.2 might be above it. So, when that 3.2 is installed, we could reasonably expect one boot occasionally. Let's go for 2 in a row. Oh, I'm stupid. Let's try to get it to the BIOS. BIOS acquired. Put our battery in. 2025. I don't care about the time, and we're going to leave everything else default except for the chipset configuration for the AGP. Primary graphics get out of here. Primary graphics adapter, AGP. Save settings. Now it should still default to the onboard because there is no AGP. Wait a minute. That's 2 posts in a row. Let's go for 3. We're going to shut it down normally. And we're going to fire it back up. This whole time could have been the CPU. This cooler's probably just fine, even though I hate it. More specifically, I hate the fact that it doesn't just use a standard, you know, plug. Okay, we're good. Yeah, let's... What do I have for a graphics card that isn't awful? I don't think this one works. No, it doesn't. Hey, I know what to try. Okay, I'm 90% sure that this card's dead. I believe it's an FX 5600. The capacitors look okay on it, but whoever sent it to me chipped a little tiny transistor there. So, we're going to try it anyway. Because I like to punish myself, I guess. Has a bad fan too. It displays out apparently, but does it? I mean, the monitor recognizes something. I see a flashing cursor there. Reboot. Yeah, okay, we're gonna shut this off now. Okay, so this card, despite that transistor, might be a functioning card. The problem is, the fan has failed, so we're not going to be able to use this without severe overheating. So, I need to find a different card. I'll be back when I find one. Alright, at this point, I think we can safely take the soldering station away. Get it out of here. We're going to clean some of this up. As much as I would like to use this weird cooler, I don't like removing this, so it stays. Move our power supply. Move our keyboard. Move this, well, you know what? Nah, it's fine. I do not know where the I/O shield is for this motherboard, unfortunately. But this is a computer case we picked up for free a little while back. And I briefly used it for testing of, I think I was building a NAS and I needed something external to test with. So we're going to use this, and I've got a random Orico 128 gigabyte SSD in here, and that is more than enough for Windows XP. So, let's build a computer. Okay. Let's go ahead, get as much of this out of the way as possible, and slide our freshly repaired system into place. Now I try to keep these out of the way, of course. They don't want to stay out of the way. Ah, what a pain. Okay, there we go. Alright, now we can get some screws in there and hold it in place. Luckily, I don't have to worry about standoffs for this, because they're all built in to the case. Now that might be a problem for some motherboards, but not this one, because this is a standard Intel MATX board. And since we're not using that weird cooler, I can actually plug in this fan here to this header, giving us a single exhaust fan. USB. I'm going to plug that in right down here. Front panel, we actually have a speaker, and that goes here in between the USB and the is that the correct orientation? I don't think that's the correct orientation. I really wish the board was easier to see without the camera, but you know, it is what it is. Hard drive LED. Power LED. Reset switch. Power switch. Okay, that's the bare minimum, but we do have an audio header somewhere. There it is. That's audio done. And finally, we may not be able to use our 5600, but we can use this 5600 XT. I think what I'm going to do is find a 3-pin splitter so we can use this chassis fan header to power this fan, and this one, which I added myself because I like my cards running cool instead of cooking themselves. Fan splitter located. Now, unfortunately, it's a 3-way fan splitter, so we are going to waste one of them, but that's not hardly that big of a deal. So that's the chassis case fan, and our 5600 XT. That needs to move. There's that fan. Okay. So, power time. If I can get this installed, that's kind of hard to reach place. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but truth is I can't either. Okay, that's in. This is looks like a 350 watt power supply. Nothing too special, but hey, I'll take it. This comes off nice. We are not going to be using IDE for the system because it has SATA. So the SSD is going to go right down here. Now, admittedly, this will probably only be SATA 1. But that still makes my life easier than IDE. So I'm going to go ahead and grab an optical drive because we're going to need that. We have picked a pretty bog standard Asus DVD drive. Now this case has kind of a nifty system here. So it's semi-toolless. I like that. While I'm remembering it, I need a screw for the graphics card. Okay. We need power for... Oh, we have a 6-pin. That's kind of nice. Useless for us, but kind of nice. We need power for the DVD drive. Take those out of the way. And now I just need a SATA cable, which I was not smart enough to bring in advance. So I think, wait a minute. Here's one now. Perfect. And that can go right in there. In theory, we're ready to boot. Well, try as I might, I can't actually find the side panel for this, which kinda wish I knew before building in this case. It's around here somewhere, but I don't know where. Either way, let's see if we can install Windows XP. Oh no. This DVD drive doesn't want to eject. Got a paperclip around here somewhere. I think my wife may have yoinked it. Here we go. Oh, that won't fit in. That's awful strange. Ouch! Jeez. Okay. We have more issues than just bad capacitors. I think the BIOS chip has failed. This is a Prescott board. It absolutely should support ACPI completely. But this here says it isn't. Allow me to summarize the last 6.5 hours of testing. First, I just tried to install Windows XP the normal way that I usually do, with a CD. Unfortunately, I couldn't boot from the SATA optical drive, so I tried another. Couldn't boot from that one either. Tried another. That one didn't work. So I started digging into the BIOS, found out that the SATA ports were set for RAID again, even though I thought I had undone that. So I undid it again. Still couldn't boot from SATA. I tried all my drives again. Then I thought maybe it was my CD. So I tried 2 more CDs for Windows XP. No, that didn't work either. So then I thought, well, maybe it has a problem booting from an optical drive in a SATA port. This is one of the early SATA motherboards after all. So I grabbed some IDE drives as well. Now let me tell you about that. I have these 2 really nice ASUS IDE cables. If either of these are plugged into a drive and plugged into the board, the system won't post. That's great. This one, this weird one, the system would post if it was plugged into the blue port but not the black port. However, just because it would post doesn't mean it would work. I couldn't boot from any of the IDE drives that I've got if they were plugged into this cable. The system would see them, but it would say non-bootable. This one, the system would post and would try to boot, but only if this was plugged into the black port, not the blue one. If this was plugged into the blue one, well, guess what? The system won't post again. This cable worked in both ports, but just like before, every time that the optical drive showed up, it said non-bootable. So then I said, okay, well, I've got this compact flash adapter. Let me just go ahead and throw the installer on this compact flash card. Didn't work. All those cables, tried them all again. Same results, didn't work. Non-bootable. So then I tried putting it on this flash drive, the Windows XP installer. And every time that I tried to install XP from this flash drive, it would tell me that some file was missing, error code 22, right towards the beginning of the installer. And it was extremely slow. So that didn't work. Finally, I tried this. I saw this on Action Retro pretty recently, and this nifty little device has an SSD inside it, if I can get the back off. It's supposed to operate to where you put a bunch of ISO files on that device, you choose the ISO file you want, and then the system thinks that it's an optical drive. Didn't work. Couldn't boot from it. So finally, I went back to my SATA optical drives, tried again, found out that if I manually selected them from the boot list and not relying on the boot order, I could boot from them. But every single time I did, I got this blue screen where it says, the BIOS in this system is not fully ACPI compliant. It definitely should be. From day one, this motherboard should have had a fully compliant BIOS. So I did the logical thing, and I kept swapping XP disks until I ran out of disks. Every single one gave me this error. Even Media Center Edition gave me this error. Even Windows Server 2003 gave me this error. So, I tried Windows 7. Same error. Well, let's try Linux. Not the same error, but it didn't work. So, as much as I hate to admit defeat, I think I'm going to have to find a BIOS chip. Luckily, it is swappable on this board. I don't have to desolder anything. I just need to find a new BIOS chip, if I can. I couldn't even get Windows 2000 to install. I spent hours on this thing before and after my wife got home. She wasn't super happy about that because she wanted to do things, but unfortunately, I was busy. No Monster Hunter tonight. So, Yeah, we're gonna have to find a BIOS. If you'd like to help me acquire such a BIOS, there are a couple ways you can support the channel. Number one, you could technically send one in directly to my P.O. box, but that might result with 5 or 6 different people sending in the BIOS chip that I only need one of. So let's not do that. Don't send me a BIOS chip unless you contact me first. Second, you could support the Patreon. Supporting the Patreon is one of the most direct ways to help me acquire repairs and parts for these things. The third way, I opened a PayPal specifically for the channel so people could directly donate. Technically speaking, that is the most direct way to support the channel, but feels kind of weird, so I'm going to close it soon. If you want to help me acquire this BIOS chip or some more pizza for my birthday, feel absolutely free to toss a couple bucks that way. But don't feel pressured. Again, gonna close it soon. Oh boy. Not happy about this one. I really wish we could have gotten this to work, but I could spend weeks trying to get this to work, and I just don't think it will. We've had so many issues with this. Okay. If you liked to see me suffer, there's the like button down there. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. We have a Patreon, as I mentioned. You can find all sorts of behind the scenes on the Patreon, including exclusive videos. And I do have a habit of making all of those videos free. They're exclusive to paid members for a few weeks, then I make them free. So you do not, I repeat, you do not have to pay my Patreon in order to access the exclusive content. And I don't think there's a whole lot more I can do here, so shoot. Thanks for watching, I guess. I would like to thank my Patreon members for helping to support me through these trying times. I'm really upset by this. Yeah. I don't know how to end a failure video. So I guess that's it. I will catch you in the next one where hopefully, we won't fail. Thank you.